widow's ordeal begins. In the vast, untamed American West, survival was a daily gamble. The dream of a new life out west was potent, but for every success, countless stories spoke of hardship and tragedy. This is one such story, a testament to extraordinary resilience, set against the backdrop of a burgeoning nation. The year was 1864. While the Civil War's echoes still rumbled, the far west fought a different battle, the conquest of the frontier. Thousands flocked westward, drawn by the promise of gold, land, and the nascent transcontinental railroad. This iron artery was a monument to ambition, but its construction was perilous, paid for with sweat, steel, and often blood. Our story begins near the construction camps of the Central Pacific Railroad, high in the formidable Sierra Nevada mountains. Here, amidst blasting powder and hammering, men toiled under brutal conditions, carving a path through granite and ice. Among them was Patrick O'Malley, a strong, hopeful Irishman. He had brought his young family across an ocean and a continent, chasing a brighter future. But the mountains are unforgiving. One bitter autumn day, a sudden rock slide thundered down a freshly cut embankment. Patrick, along with others, was caught in its merciless path. When the dust settled, the silence was chilling. Patrick O'Malley, the hopeful immigrant, the devoted husband and father, was gone. His dreams shattered. His widow, Eleanor O'Malley, was left utterly alone in a desolate makeshift camp far from any town. She was barely 25, with 2 small children and carrying another life within her womb, weeks from birth. The dream had become a nightmare, a promise to keep. Eleanor O'Malley stood by Patrick's fresh grave. The wind carried the faint cries of her 2 young children, Liam, barely 4, and little Maeve, a fragile 2-year-old. Inside her, another life stirred, a gentle reminder of the future Patrick had envisioned, now shrouded in wilderness. Despair was a cold, heavy hand. She was miles from settlement, with no money, no support, and winter creeping in. Most would have crumbled, surrendered to the crushing weight of circumstances. But Eleanor was forged from different iron. She thought of Patrick's optimism, their sacrifices to reach this wild land. She remembered his whispered promises of a home where their children would thrive, far from poverty. Then she looked at Liam and Maeve, their small faces smudged with dirt and tears, their innocence dependent on her. She felt the quiet flutter within her womb. In that moment by her husband's grave, despair gave way to fierce, unyielding resolve. She wouldn't just survive, she would honor Patrick's memory. She would deliver on his unspoken promise. Her destination was Sacramento, California, a bustling hub nearly 200 miles away on the other side of the formidable Sierra Nevada. She had distant relatives there, her last hope. The journey was unthinkable for a woman alone, pregnant, with 2 toddlers. People scoffed, predicting doom. The Sierra Nevada was infamous for treacherous passes and sudden blizzards. But Eleanor knew, with a certainty that burned like a beacon, she had no other choice. To stay was to perish slowly. To move was to fight, to endure, to grasp at hope. With a small satchel of meager provisions, a tattered blanket, and her last strength, Eleanor O'Malley took her children's hands. She turned her back on the railroad camp and began to walk west, towards the towering, snow-capped peaks. Her journey wasn't just a physical trek, it was a defiant act of love, a sacred promise, and a desperate fight for the lives she still held. Across the Sierra's spine, Eleanor's journey was less a walk and more an agonizing crawl across the very backbone of the Sierra Nevada. The railroad grade, her initial guide, soon vanished. She found herself navigating ancient trails and stretches of untouched wilderness. The terrain was brutal. Steep inclines, treacherous descents, and jagged rock formations. Each step was a painful act of will. The weather became her most relentless adversary. Autumn quickly dissolved into the biting chill of early winter. The thin air at altitude made every breath a struggle, and soon snow began to fall relentlessly. The towering pines became silent, foreboding sentinels. The temperature plummeted at night, forcing her to huddle with her children under rocky overhangs, sharing their last warmth as the wind howled. Food and water were constant, gnawing concerns. Her meager provisions dwindled rapidly. She rationed every crumb, every sip, giving the lion's share to Liam and Maeve. She learned to identify edible berries and roots. She melted snow for water, her fingers numb. Hunger was a dull ache, but fear for her children eclipsed her own discomfort. Liam and Maeve, too young to fully comprehend, endured with remarkable fortitude. There were tears from cold, hunger, and weariness, but Eleanor's quiet strength seemed to imbue them with endurance. She carried Maeve when her tiny legs gave out, her pregnant belly a heavy burden, her arms aching. Liam, though older, often stumbled, his small hand gripping hers like a lifeline. She told them stories, whispered songs, anything to distract them from the cold and the terrifying wilderness. One afternoon, a chilling encounter solidified the raw danger. She spotted the fresh tracks of a mountain lion, large and unmistakable, leading towards a narrow pass. Her heart hammered with fear. She remembered tales of lone travelers attacked. Instinct took over. She gathered her children close, spoke in urgent whispers, and changed her route, scrambling up a steeper, more exposed ridge, choosing a known danger over an unseen threat. Every decision was a matter of life and death, honed by primal instinct. She pressed on, day after agonizing day, driven by an almost superhuman will. Her feet swelled and bled, her clothes became ragged, her vision blurred from exhaustion. But she never stopped moving. Each painful step forward was a testament to her vow to Patrick, a desperate prayer for her unborn child, and an unbreakable bond with the two small lives she dragged across the formidable Sierra. The mountains, vast and indifferent, witnessed her incredible struggle, a solitary figure fighting for every precious breath. The kindness of strangers. Just as Eleanor's strength was waning, her body utterly spent, a faint plume of smoke appeared on the distant horizon. It was a sign of human presence, a beacon of hope. With renewed, desperate energy, she pushed forward, her raw feet stumbling, her eyes fixed on the distant promise. The smoke led her to a small, isolated trading post, a rough-hewn cabin tucked away in a remote valley. The man who emerged from the cabin, a grizzled, taciturn trapper named Jedediah, stopped dead in his tracks. He had seen hardship, but the sight of Eleanor, ragged, gaunt, heavily pregnant, with two exhausted children, was extraordinary. His usual gruff demeanor softened. Without a word, he led them inside, to the warmth of a roaring fire. He offered hot stew, the first warm, substantial meal Eleanor had eaten in weeks, and clean water. For the first time in days, Eleanor allowed herself to truly rest. Jedediah, a man of few words, understood the unspoken story in Eleanor's haunted eyes. He saw a formidable spirit. He tended to her and the children with gruff compassion, patching her boots, sharing provisions, and offering what little medical knowledge he possessed for her advanced pregnancy. He respected her silence. He pointed her towards a less treacherous path through a lower pass, a lifeline of simple, unasked-for kindness. A few days later, fortified by Jedediah's generosity, Eleanor continued her journey. The terrain, though still challenging, was less brutal. As she descended, the harsh, rocky landscape softened, giving way to rolling hills and eventually the vast Californian valleys. The air grew warmer and the snow thinned, replaced by patches of green. It was a gradual, welcome shift. Then she stumbled upon a small, isolated Maidu village, its dwellings nestled beside a winding stream. The Maidu people, wary of strangers, recognized Eleanor's desperate plight. A group of women approached cautiously. They saw her weary eyes, her swollen belly, and her vulnerable children. They did not speak the same language, but compassion transcends words. The Maidu women offered her dried berries and fish, herbs for her aching body, and a warm, safe place by their communal fire. They showed her how to use certain plants, taught her tricks for finding water, and shared knowledge of the land, helping her prepare for the final leg. Their quiet communal support was a crucial turning point, a profound encounter with humanity at its most fundamental. These unexpected encounters became the stepping stones that carried Eleanor forward, proving that even in the most desolate wilderness, human empathy could provide a path to hope. A new horizon. After nearly 3 months of relentless walking, battling starvation, exposure, and the brutal will of the mountains, Eleanor O'Malley finally stumbled into the outskirts of Sacramento. She was a ghost of her former self, gaunt, ragged, but unbroken. Her children, clinging to her hands, were thin and weary, but alive. The sight of houses brought tears to her eyes, of exhaustion, relief, and profound gratitude. Her distant relatives, startled by her spectral appearance, initially barely recognized her. But once they understood the impossible journey, their shock gave way to awe and profound admiration. They welcomed her with open arms, providing food, warmth, and the first true safety she had known since Patrick's death. Just days after her arrival in the quiet sanctuary of her relative's home, Eleanor went into labor. Despite the grueling ordeal, she gave birth to a healthy, robust baby boy. She named him Patrick, in honor of his father, a living testament to the love that had sustained her. His cries filled the house with pure hope, a promise fulfilled against all odds. Eleanor, with the unwavering support of her relatives and the resilience that had carried her across the mountains, slowly rebuilt her life. She found work, humble at first, but steady. She provided for her children, ensuring they had food, shelter, and the education she so deeply desired for them. Her story, whispered in hushed tones, became a local legend, a powerful testament to her indomitable spirit. The scars of her journey remained: physical aches, the quiet sorrow for Patrick's loss, and the haunting memories of the Sierra's indifference. But they were also badges of honor, reminders of her extraordinary strength. She never forgot the kindness of Jedediah, the trapper, or the compassionate women of the Maidu village. Their humanity, encountered in the bleakest circumstances, became as vital to her survival as her own fierce will. Eleanor O'Malley's journey of 200 miles across the Sierra Nevada, heavily pregnant and with 2 small children, stands as one of the most remarkable feats of survival in the history of the American West. It was a journey born of despair, forged in unimaginable hardship, and brought to fruition by an unyielding love and an iron will. It reminds us that even when all seems lost, the human spirit, armed with a powerful purpose, can defy logic, overcome the impossible, and truly live, leaving behind not just a legacy of survival, but a beacon of hope for generations to come. Her story echoes through the mountains, a silent, powerful song of endurance against the vastness of the frontier.